Next up, we have Bella Robinson. Now, Bella needs no introduction, but she is the founder and executive director of COYOTE, Rhode Island. So without further ado, Bella.
Thank you, Amber. So, much like most other people here, I've been a sex worker for 40 years. I've done street-based work, escorting, and I had the opportunity to move to Rhode Island, and I actually worked under decriminalization, and it was wonderful. It's a game changer when people can't threaten to tell on you. It takes all the power away. So Harris was also really responsible for creating FOSTA. And I remember when one of the child acts in 2014, I had to go talk to Senator Sheldon, and I didn't know, oh my God, I was scared to death. So anyway, we did a survey 2 weeks after FOSTA passed because we wanted to understand the immediate effects. And then we did one in 2022 because effects change over time. So we're pretty smart. We start to figure things out and adapt to life changes. So we did this 4 years of FOSTA that, and it was this survey, and what we found out is what we already knew we were going to find out, but we have the data to prove it. So FOSTA increased violence and trafficking within the sex industry. It created dangerous work conditions, increased violence and exploitation, and increased street-based work. It decreased blacklists. So those are like databases that we put bad clients to warn each other. It made screening less possible. When you know who someone is and where they work, they're less likely to murder you. FOSTA decreased community support among sex workers, increased homelessness. FOSTA negatively impacted public safety, and FOSTA harmed survivors more. And how we know this is even DOJ wrote a report that once all those websites moved overseas, where they didn't have to comply to U.S. subpoenas, they couldn't investigate trafficking. They always said that Backpage was the best tool they had to fight trafficking. It was like the Walmart of escort ads. And now they're what? On 1,000 different sites, right? So resiliency and distrust of those who were less impacted, believe it or not, were those who entered as minors. I think they get street smart when they're thrown out in the streets and they get to fend for themselves. So we have a right to negotiate for own labor and safe work conditions, allowing people who don't work in the industry to dictate what we're going to do. Even if they work in the industry, I have no right telling Amber or Maxine what to do or how to do their work. This idea that we don't know what we're doing and they would somehow know how to do it better is kind of funny. So we want to be aware of the rhetoric and continue to keep supporting full decriminalization. So in 2018, some of us attended the 2018 Sex Workers Summit, and we wrote a real simple statement of our anti-criminalization principles. We offer these principles to our movement as a working template for a national platform. General statement. We advocate for people impacted by labor issues, social stigma, and criminalization, and we condone any attempts at restricting our autonomy and self-determination. Recommendations for all people. Support us in our struggle for justice and human rights, and against those who would deny us access to the same services or rights because of our work. Respect us as experts in our lives without assuming we are flawed in some way. We do not want punitive intervention. Recommendations for sex workers. We insist on sex worker leadership at every level of decision-making on policies around sex work. We reserve the right to ourselves, the right to maintain our own health. We demand the right to speak, access all public channels of communication, and choose those who speak for us and to be recognized by the media, public officials, and others as authorities on our own experiences. Rights of sex workers. To make our own sexual and relationship choices without having it invalidated consent. To access social, medical, and justice service without discrimination in any form, including but not limited to gender, sexuality, race, citizenship status, or the way we choose to work. To have our choices and body autonomy respected, including the right to decline services, and to be free to work in a manner of our own choosing without any regulation that is disrespectful to us or our agency. So I wanted to tell people that on September 15th, we'll be able to purchase one of our books on Amazon that is packed with about 10 years of surveys with all this data and a lot of personal quotes and experiences of sex workers. But I want to say one thing last. Not only has the government funded this misinformation campaign, because we know they don't care about kids. That's kind of obvious, right? When they say we're creating awareness about trafficking, they're really creating stigma and violence. That's what they're doing. They're stigmatizing even victims. I think all of us at some point has been taken advantage of or something bad has happened, even if you're not a sex worker, it's just life. And when we look at how they take care of our children, in state care, well, they just found them in Rhode Island, housing them in a mental hospital and not going to school for months at a time, right? So, but it's also clickbait. It's entertainment for society. It's like the Hunger Games. They can turn it on, they click, and we need to be more than their entertainment. But thank you all for joining me, and thank you.
Thank you, Bella. Yes, criminalization kills, definitely.